I think another area I'd like to talk about with the social media is that I've met so many amazing people through social media that are so supportive. These women that are doing the same thing as me and all over the country follow and support me. That has been another amazing thing that I've found, that it's women supporting women. I mean, it can be men too, but I mainly am women's fashion, so I prefer women. And it's been amazing because I've met so many amazing women that I've never met in person, but through social media that are so supportive. So I think that's another wonderful thing to be part of this.
How's it going, everyone? This is Brett Wiley. Welcome back to the Lead Lamp Media Podcast. This week, we have social stylist Shannon on the show. Shannon and I have worked together in the past, so we have a pretty good relationship from other years of just working together, and been through quite a bit of changes. So I'm excited to have you back in our studio here. It's been a while. Yes. But it was great to get an update from you before we started the show. So I kind of can't wait to hear more about what you've been up to.
Thank you for having me. Well, yes. So I have created a social stylist position for myself. It's been about 2 years. And so I am Social Stylist Shannon, where you can find me on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. I'm also starting YouTube slowly. I have started that, but it's just in baby steps. It's a whole nother field. But basically, let me give you a little backstory as to what happened and how I came into this position. So 2 years ago, I had left the dental industry. So that's how we know each other, Brett. We go back far. So I was in dental for 20 years. And I think sometimes people in their life realize they get to a point where they get burnt out and they realize they need to change. And when I was younger, actually, my daughter, when she was little, I was in retail with a company called White House Black Market, and they were a great company. So I decided one day, 2 years ago, to leave the dental industry to go back into retail. I love people, I love fashion, and it's just something that I thought, this is what I feel like my passion is. I think that's the biggest part of what brought me to where I am today, is just having a passion for fashion. So moving back into why I left dental, I decided it was time for a change. And I reached out to White House Black Market and asked them if they had any positions available. So as we all know, in 2020, COVID happened. Okay? Yep, yeah. Which severely affected the whole world, especially retail, where people weren't shopping.
It just cut them off the knees pretty much.
Yeah. Cut them off. So in 2020, they established White House Black Market a social stylist position where they wanted people to help promote their products online because people were not shopping in stores. Even when COVID broke, people went back to work. Yeah. They still were afraid to go.
People are doing more online ordering now. Absolutely. I mean, just even your groceries, you don't even have to go to the store anymore. So.
It changed the whole way of the way people shop. So with that said, they created this position in 2020. I reached out to them, and it was 2023, and they said, we have this position we think you'd be great for. They had 111 of us stationed all over the US. So I was the South Central PA rep for them. And so they put me in this position where I worked with the local retailers in store for eventing, fashion shows, but mainly it was to promote their products online. Okay. So that's what started. And I created my Social Stylist Shannon from the bottom, from zero. And because I didn't want to use my personal page. I was like, let's start fresh. So I started growing that page. It's funny now, actually, to look back 2 years ago to see where I started to where I am now.
When you watch old content you made and you're like, oh boy.
It's cringe.
Yeah.
It's so funny. Yeah. So, but you start somewhere and you grow.
have to start doing it.
Yeah, you grow.
And now you started your brand page, basically. Now you were with White House Black Market, but that was yours.
That was mine.
And then when you started that, they were cool with the idea of if you do your own thing too, you can keep that? That's
a good question. Okay. They did not have a non-compete. So at first I was very loyal to that brand. There were three, they were umbrellaed with three companies. So White House, Black Market, Chico's, and Soma Intimates. I don't really want to give them a plug at this point in time. But anyway, with that said, that was their umbrella. Yeah. And we started there. So I was loyal to them for a year and a half, and I only promoted their products. So they were fine with us creating our own pages and promoting it that way. And if they liked our content, they would share it on their corporate page on the website. Yeah. So I landed on their page many times, which was really cool because that's great exposure. So I baby stepped into all of that. Fast forwarding to August of last year, the Knitwell Group, which is a large corporation, purchased the Chico's FAS organization. And when that happened, they decided that our position was no longer valid and they didn't think we were necessary. So they unfortunately let us go last August. And it was such a heartbreak because I loved the job. It was such a great company. I loved the people I worked with.
Yeah.
So with that, it was like, oh no, what do I do? But I had at least had a base started, which was good with my page.
And audience.
Stylist
and
audience.
You had something there.
I had followings. I had people that liked watching me. So I immediately was like, okay, what do I do? So I pivot and I created Socialstylist Shannon at gmail.com, which was just a start to have people be able to reach out to me because I had lost my business account with that previous employer. So with that, I opened up my whole Social Stylist account to say, hey, I'm open for collaborations. I can work with whoever wants to work with me at this point. Instead of being in that just 3 companies, it was anyone. And it's amazing, Brett, how like from that point on, from August until now, where I've come so far, so fast. I had so many companies reach out to me immediately, emailing me saying, we want to work with you. We want to send you product. I get 3 to 4 packages a day, like sent to me for free, where they're like, we want you to show our product. So it's just funny how sometimes things work out because who knew, this would turn into where I am now.
Yeah.
Because I sell for Amazon. I have an Amazon storefront and I have an app called LTK. A lot of people don't know what that is. It's called Like to Know It.
Okay. So explain what that does.
Sure. It's a free app that you download on your phone. And I post content there where people can purchase through that app. And if they do, I make commissions on sales there.
Okay.
So it's really nice. So that way they can follow me. Because I post on Instagram, but an actual link is not available to us on Instagram yet. They haven't come around with that yet.
Right.
So LTK is the app we use. And like I said, Amazon. So that's kind of where I have developed over the last 2 years as a stylist.
Okay.
So funny, I also, on the side, I loved working directly with people too, though. So being social is great, but I also love to be in person. So I also work part-time for The Plum. It's a local small business, which I love. It's called The Plum Boutique, located here in Camp Hill.
They've been around for a little while now too.
Long time. Yeah. Yes. So I love this company because it's locally owned, small business. They have great clients.
Is that the one over off Gettysburg Road?
Yeah, right right by the Pizza Grill.
Yeah. I used to work back behind there at the plumbing and HVAC place behind it. So
cool.
I passed that probably 1,000 times a
so
year.
close.
Never even knew. I knew it was there, but I didn't know anything about the business, obviously.
Yeah. So what's funny about them is since they've been around so long, they're a little more old school with their contact and outreach. So I've been trying to help develop their social now for their
kind of dig them out of their shell of no, we need to start doing this.
Yeah, to find new clients.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times people don't know because word of mouth is how they've been using their marketing outreach. And I've been helping them now grow on Instagram and Facebook just with posting updates of what new things are coming in. And
you still can't beat good old word of mouth. You still can't that's the golden ticket in marketing. But there is word of mouth on different platforms now that, you can help put some fuel in the fire.
Right.
So if people are online asking and commenting, hey, where'd you get that? What are you wearing? Or what,
Exactly.
There's a whole new digital word of mouth that they probably weren't tapped into.
I agree. And that's where I kind of had to explain that to them, where, yes, you have these great client base, but it's open to new clients is getting your name out there into social media. And that's going back to COVID again, has changed so much of the industries as far as how people find things.
Yeah. And it's so fast.
Yes. That's the new wave. It's just the way it works.
It changes so fast too. It's wild. So I can understand why a little bit more of an older brand or a legacy local business would be more apprehensive to jump into it because they're just they're not sure how.
By
the time I learn this, it's going to be different, and it's just you see that a lot with brands that have been around for a while and they just kind of get set in their ways, and it's nothing bad. It works for them, but it's nice. It's good when someone like you comes along and they're like, no, it's okay. I'll guide you through this.
Another thing too with my position, I've met so many amazing people through networking, which is a huge part of my job as well. And I've recently met another woman who has a small jewelry business called Tickled Pink. So I'm going to actually start working with her to help her promote her jewelry, which is
where are they located?
She is located over off of, I should know this. It's it's over in Harrisburg. Do you know where Duke's is?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
what is the name of that road? It's on that main street right there. I should know this, but anyway, it's in Harrisburg by Duke's downtown. I can get more information.
I'm drawing a blank. I know where you're talking about.
You know the location. Yeah. So wonderful owner, love her. Her name is Liz, and I also work for help promote, support another local business called Behind the Sugar. And they are a tanning, waxing salon over in Harrisburg, local owned. It is a chain, but she owns a local franchise. And she's amazing. I've been doing content with her as well to help promote their company. We had a photo shoot recently. We had so much fun with that. So it's fun because people locally, I think, are starting to realize the strength in social media and how to open up the outreach there. So I've had a lot of people along the way here now start seeing that I'm growing. And so they're like, hey, can you help me out? And I would love to. I love it. I love working with local businesses.
And you're not just doing, you have a very specific like set of type of business too that you're working within. So you're doing things that are, within the same alley, but obviously not competing with each other. So you have, the plumbers, retail, clothing and
jewelry,
and then you have the tanning
salon.
So, it's
the tanning is spray tan. Let me just emphasize because I'm all about health. So
you don't want to be burning yourself up.
You don't want to be hurting our skin.
Yeah.
So it's all about natural, just being sprayed up and natural.
But it's cool because you're partnering with businesses or you're working with businesses that all can benefit from each other, and they're not mad. They're not thinking, well, she's going to leave here. She's going to go do that for that other brand. Well, you're going to take
no threat. Yeah.
Take some traffic away from me. So it's cool to see that you set up that
together. Yeah. And like I said, they're all local, small business women owned as well. So I'm really big on supporting women, which I love.
So can you explain, we kind of went over it really quick from like a high level, but explain what the role of a social stylist does.
What it does. So basically, a social stylist shows you ways to wear. A lot of times I'll show you 3 ways to wear. Okay. Where it's like, here's a pair of pants, but how do you style them? Or a lot of companies recently want to send me bathing suits. And I'm like, really? And so here's a funny story, Brett. I am not a size 2. And so a lot of people are like, well, you're mid-size. People like an average, relatable model. So I find it funny because a lot of people, sometimes when you're on a social platform, you're going to get judged and people are watching you. And so I'm very confident and I just, I do what I can, but it's just funny to me that I have received so many bathing suits and I'm like, okay, well, here we go. You know?
Well, and it's almost like you hear this in when other people are talking about when they get large amounts of attention online or any amount of attention online, like you got to stay out of the comments sometimes because you're always going to get
negative feedback.
We're in social. I have my own personal things that we do on, like my dad and I have our hobby pages on social media, and like you're always going to get negative feedback on anything.
Yeah.
And it's harder, I think, when probably it's
I'm putting
directly at you.
I will say,
but
I've not received, and knock on wood.
Yeah.
I have had no negative feedback, which is amazing,
awesome.
right? Because
I'm
glad I haven't.
Yeah, I just meant you do have to, when
you have to take it with a grain.
When that time comes, you always have to be like,
not everyone's going to like it.
And it's nice because you can choose what you want to and don't want to do too. Correct. So if you're like, I'm not into that. Like you're in charge of your own content. So
exactly.
If you're not comfortable doing that, you can say like, I'm gonna send that back.
And what's cool about that is now that I've established this Amazon and LTK, and since August is really when I started really pushing on these platforms. It started as free. That's where like, we're going to send you content or clothes to show for free. Now I've graduated into the paid content.
Yeah.
So that's what my direction was to grow and to continue.
But that's the ultimate goal.
Exactly.
Like, it's great when you're getting some stuff for free and it's like, you're not relying on it to pay the bills Correct. Or to add to your family budget, but
we still have to make money.
You can't go home and say, well, hey, to your husband and kids, you can't go, oh, hey,
I have clothes, but I got
a bunch of cool clothes, but can't get groceries this week. But like now that you're able to prove like, well, I'm getting some awesome products, but at the same time, no, I'm actually adding to my bottom line too. That's when it makes a big difference.
It's huge.
So back to the social stylist thing. Are you also just a situational thing? So when you get an outfit or you're getting a whatever to put together, I'm sure you're going to get the whole ensemble of how they want you to wear it, or is it kind of up to you and your discretion?
Open to my discretion.
So do you show people like, hey, if you're going out in this situation, whatever, you're going out to get dinner, it's more formal, this is how you'd wear this? Or do you set it up that way where it's like, hey, you can wear it this way if you're going to this type of event?
More casual or more dressy. It depends on what I'm showing. But that's a good question, because like a lot of times I will, like previously worked with White House, it was more formal wear where it was like blazers, dressy clothing. These days people are not dressing up as much as they used to. So
even formal, it's like a jacket and like jeans. Yeah.
So I found as I was doing content, it was getting better results with more casual ways to wear because it's an everyday wear. So that's funny you say that, because I've kind of tried to change the way I show things, not as more as a formal wear, more of a casual.
Okay.
I also have really, really done well with Target Tuesdays. So that's another fun, I'm not paid through Target, but I get paid for showing content on my LTK through Target. So every Tuesday I show ways to wear Target clothes. And that has been huge for me because Target is such a relatable, affordable fashion that people love. And it's amazing how that has boomed for me online.
Yeah. I mean, they got like a graphic tee for less than $10 or whatever, and a pair of jeans for nothing. So I mean, that's pretty awesome. So and it's cool because you get to dictate what you're showing. Now in the, social stylist job description, I guess, I mean, it's you created your own job essentially, but in there, are you also doing, you already mentioned that before, but are you now finding ways to help more than just like the consumer, which is like the people viewing your videos, but now you have like a second consumer almost, which is these brands you work with because they're paying you.
Yes.
Are you providing them feedback on things that they send you? Like if they send you outfits and you're like, I didn't like it because of this, or do they ever offer you a way to give them feedback on things they send you?
So that's another good question, because recently, like I've been getting all this content to show, but then some companies recently are starting to send me things that are like, we don't need you to show it. We just want your feedback. So like, how does this fit? How's the color? How's the size?
Yeah.
What are your, they want my description of what my style or my size is. But then they're sending, so what they're doing is they're sending me right now spring and summer products that are not out there yet. So they're doing like they're testing it
like
on me.
Beta test.
Yes. And saying, okay,
clothing,
let us know how you feel about this so we can tweak it prior to releasing it. So that's been very cool too, that I'm receiving this product that's
you have to send it back?
No. I keep it.
They don't want you to post it yet.
No, I can't post it because it's not linkable. So I don't ever post something I can't promote.
Right. Yeah.
Because although I did have a black dress recently I put on there that was already sold out before I even was able to put it on my site, but if
it comes back though,
that's what I said. If it restocks, I'm ready for you. So
now this might be way out in left field, but this is just a question that came to me when you were explaining this. Is it possible, like it's all women's clothing, right? Like, do you ever have anything requests for like, hey, do you have like, can your husband wear this? Or can you, like, we have some cool kids clothes. If you have kids, do we do that? Like,
that's funny too.
Styles for kids or like, hey, here's what my husband would wear if we're going out for a night. Do you ever have brands send you stuff like that?
Not necessarily, no. But I did have one company actually last night, I think it was. Because I get emails all the time I have to sift through because I have my whole, Socialstylist at Gmail, Socialstylist Shannon at Gmail. What was it? It was like, it was a pair of joggers. It was a women's jogger and a men's jogger. And they were like, will you and your husband, show this? My husband would never.
He's like, I don't want to be on
He would never do that. So I was like, no, thank you. You know what I mean? Huh. I also find that for myself going forward with, like you said, now that I'm at a level where I can choose, I can say no. My audience responds best on things that look good on me. So if I find that that's something that doesn't look good on me, I'm not going to show it.
Right.
It's not going to sell.
Right.
I won't feel.
Well, and you're not going to want to talk about it
because I don't prefer it.
And then you lose a little bit of authenticity, even if it's within yourself, because you might do it once and your audience might not realize it. But if you start doing that more, it's kind of like this, like, I'm not really into this one.
I think you hit that on the button.
And people can start to feel that though after a while, and
being authentic
you would lose that because then you're not as excited about it. It's not coming through in your videos as well, and then there's a decline in your quality of content.
I agree completely with that because that's another reason why I was like, okay, these things. Sometimes I was getting product where I'm like, ooh, I don't know if this is great.
Especially early on, you're like, I just got to do whatever they send me.
That's exactly right. In the beginning, I was just doing anything and everything to get myself out there. And now I've backed off on that to say, no, I think I'm going to pass on that.
And it probably feels better because you're like,
yeah,
not about that. But then those brands learn you better too, I'm sure. Like, that's not going to resonate well. So we're not going to send that. I'm sure they have a whole team of people that are trying to curate stuff to send as well with any of these influencers.
Right.
Now, do you ever... Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say something about influencers because there's so many of them, right? So
yeah.
I don't know if you
and it's kind of like a loaded term because like everyone wants to be one, and you know what I mean. Like I feel like it could be a very polarizing environment.
And a lot of people don't know what an influencer is,
right? So, and then you have people, just like anything. Like we won't say what it is, but there's certain age groups that complain about other age groups, because they don't understand, what it is or what it means, what the makeup of that, even that generation is, and they just get frustrated and they're like, oh, it's that whole age group that's like that. I feel like it's like that when you talk about influencer, like, well, I mean, there's ones out there that aren't doing a good job,
right?
But then there's plenty of them out there that are just connecting people with great products or just teaching them how to be, confident in the clothes they wear, kind of like you're doing, and I didn't mean to cut you off with that, but I feel like it's such a loaded term or like loaded.
It is. Because I feel like when I first started as a stylist, I was strictly a stylist. Mm-hmm. And then I feel like I've really gone into more of the influencer direction because it started to take off for me. Yeah. People enjoyed my content. They liked seeing me. Again, I think because I am more of a mid-size average, not a size 2. And so, I just think that the term influencer, a lot of times, like you said, or like people are like, oh, what is that? Or how did you, or on the flip, people are like, how did you get into that? Mm-hmm. And because not anyone can just stand there and take pictures and clothes and make it work. So, I think it's, I was fortunate enough to have that background to get me to where I am with that previous position. So
you built a platform up prior to going on your own.
Yeah.
The one funny thing, so I did a career day or fair, I guess what you call it.
Were you at CV?
No. This was with my wife's school district.
Okay.
And I was teaching, or I guess not teaching, but I had like my little table there. We showed them what we did in marketing.
Yeah.
And the kids, all those kids were like, I'm showing them print stuff. I'm showing them how to build websites. Not how to build, but that we build websites. We do all this and banner designs, everything. But then when I brought up YouTube, they're all like, oh, you do YouTube?
Yeah, that's
like we want to do YouTube. And I'm like, well, what would you want to be when you grow up? Like, what do you want to do? And like all the kids are like, I just want to be a YouTube influencer, or I want to be a gamer. And I'm like, well, we should probably have a backup plan.
Yeah.
But like,
it's very competitive.
It's even in any industry as like an influencer, it's hard to reach the status at where you can sustain on it.
Yeah.
And it's kind of unfortunate because I feel like there's a lot of younger people who don't understand how much it takes to get to that point.
Say that. And that's the other thing.
And they put all their eggs in that basket and then they get burnt out on it. Yeah.
That brings up a good topic because sometimes people think it's easy to do what I do. And not saying it's hard, but
they're like, oh, you don't go to work every day. Like
behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Like even
I'm sure you heard
production,
that too.
It's you're editing, like I use Canva, I use CapCut. Like there's platforms I have to use to help me create videos. And I have to really, think about the product, how I'm going to show it. It's just, so there is more to it than just, let's stand there and take a picture,
First of all, kind of what I had said just a second ago, like I'm sure there's that stigma with it where it's like, well, you're not going to a job every day, like 9 to 5 kind of thing. Well, I mean, it's true, but that affords you some different luxuries that you have for your family too, I'm sure. Like, I could pick up the kids, I can do this, but that also takes away from some other luxuries where you're like,
well, it kind of never ends. Like
10 o'clock at night, I'm on my phone editing a video. Absolutely. And most people are trying to get some sleep or watch their favorite show. Like, so it's give and take.
Mm-hmm. You're correct on that.
And
because there's a lot of times I'll have to put the phone down or the iPad. I'll be like, okay, I have to, my eyes.
It's not healthy.
Yeah. You have to, it's hard to break away because social media is very addicting, you know, but no, you're right. I think another area I'd like to talk about with the social media is that I've met so many amazing people through social media that are so supportive. These women that are doing the same thing as me and all over the country, follow and support me. That has been another amazing thing that I've found, that it's women supporting women. I mean, it can be men too, but I mainly am women's fashion, so I prefer women. And it's been amazing because I've met so many amazing women that I've never met in person, but through social media that are so supportive. So I think that's another wonderful thing to be part of this.
Do you think that, I mean, obviously if there's 100 of you working with kind of the same brands, do you feel that there's a competition there, or is it like you have such your everyone kind of has their own unique style and audience that like you're not
I feel like
worried about Sally over here doing the same thing with the similar outfit?
That's a good question.
Doesn't bother you?
No, when I worked for the previous corporation that I did, that generally tended to be a little more overlapped, because not that they had another stylist locally, but it was, we're selling exactly
it's the same ecosystem of products.
Same thing all the time. So we're constantly posting the same thing all the time. So now I have liberty, like you said, to choose in what I can show, and
mix up brands
thing. Yeah. And a lot of times I notice brands will send like a push, all at once. So you'll see us all wearing it. But like you said, our audiences are all different. So I think I don't feel like
you have different audiences, and you're going to match stuff differently than Joe would.
Yes.
I mean, Joe's not modeling the same clothes, but like, you're going to match it and style it differently and explain it in a way that's different from the other person who's getting similar package of clothing.
You're correct. Yeah.
I know what I was going to talk about now.
Oh, good.
So the other thing where you're seeing this big trend in like the influencer type of work is, and it's kind of cool because it's a lot of independence, and you notice it. I notice it. I'm sure, my team does too, in advertising a lot more. So you're just watching whatever, like Monday night, we were watching Monday Night Football.
Yep.
My wife had to sadly watch her Vikings get crushed. But
I know the Steelers, they didn't do so hot this year either. Oh.
None of our teams do good ever.
So I'm a secret Chiefs fan now, actually.
Except the Eagles. Joe's over here happy that the Eagles.
No, they're doing well, but I don't love the Eagles either. Anyway.
I hope they lose. Just because he said that.
Okay.
Anyways, but you see, like, okay, you got a commercial break during a football game, and you see a brand, whatever it is. It could be a brand for car insurance. It could be a brand for whatever.
Right.
You see them incorporating like influencer videos that look like they were shot on their cell phones into their professionally produced commercials now.
Yes.
And I might not know who that person is, but you start to see a lot of these brands, especially with over the top advertising, like on your streaming networks, or on your social media, like those videos that you can't skip or annoy you when you're trying to scroll. Yeah. A lot of them, you're noticing a lot of like user generated content.
You're correct.
Or
they
influencer based content.
Real people to
the video feels, if authentic. It's you telling me that, hey, I use this product, like I love it because it helps us with this or whatever. It makes my kids happier, whatever it is. It feels more authentic because it's a little bit more rough of a video as far as how it's produced versus like a cinematic quality video. Yes. And they're like, oh, okay. Like if my wife sees you come up and you're talking about, whatever helps her with getting ready in the morning with her hair, she's going to be like, oh, I struggle with that too. Yeah, I can relate to her because we look similar and we're kind of doing the same thing in the morning. Like I'm going to check that product out versus like this flawless, like, it's a model talking about Pantene, whatever. Like
a paid advertisement.
It doesn't relate to that person watching it. So it's cool to see these, big brands starting to use, user generated content or influencer content from people like you guys.
That's funny you say that too, because I do a 99.9% fashion, but I had a company reach out to me. I'm actually posting later this afternoon. It's a company that is sharing supplements with me to try. And I've been using them for 3 weeks, and I'm going through at this age some symptoms of perimenopause. Okay. So at my age, I'm having the hot flashes and those unfortunate things. So with that, they had sent me these things to take, these pills to try. They're supplements, all natural. I'm not going to say who they are quite yet.
Yeah, you don't
we're
have
getting
to.
there. But with that said, they sent them to me. They said, try them. If you like them, do content, because they want it to be authentic. They said, if you don't like them, it was just a free thing to try, trial. So after 3 weeks, they reached out to me and they said, how's it going? And I said, I actually see extreme difference in my night sweats and my sleeping patterns. So it's working. And they're like, well, would you mind doing a reel for us? We'll pay you to do this, a significant amount actually. And I said, oh my gosh, absolutely. So I think with that being authentic, going back to that, is that yes, I will show something that I believe in. So it's not just me, even though I'm being paid to do that. It's more that I believe in the product because it's working. So going forward, that would be something that I would, be open to doing more content outside of the fashion industry if it's something relatable.
And as you grow, you don't know
where I'm going to go.
Where that could be, hey, we noticed you're you also have, kids.
Yes.
We want to do thing about, this helps make moms' mornings easier, their morning routines, because we're helping their kids with whatever, easy breakfasts. Yeah. You like, if it fits with what I
in my realm
do daily, and I think my audience would benefit from it, because it seems like there's a lot of, moms my age or have similar, range of age of kids, then I'll share that. But like, you can choose whether you want to or not. Yeah. So that's a really cool way to broaden it, but do it within control of your
my field.
Yeah.
Like another advertisement I did for something actually was like an iPhone holder for on the go. Like if you're on the plane, or if you're in the kitchen making dinner, or if you're working out, it's like a clip for your phone that you can just attach to something. And so they had sent me that to use, and I enjoyed that as well. So I did show it. You know what I mean? Because again, I'm a content creator, so that's something that I could use when on the fly. Yeah. So
have you done an airplane? You sent on the plane.
No, but so funny. They sent me like a little, like, here, use this in part of your video. It was kind of demo on the airplane. I wasn't actually on the plane, but it was like a plug for the plane.
That's funny.
So yeah. But no, I think with all of this, I just want to say that going back to, I am in my 40s and anyone at any time can decide what they want to do with their life. We don't know how long we have. And I think that if you have a passion for something, explore it. It's never too late.
You can always pivot. Always. And it's hard to tell people that. It's easy to tell people that. It's hard for, I think, a lot of people to think outside of their daily life. Like, it's too much. I got this. I got to worry about that. I got to do this. But like, you were put into a circumstance where, you had an audience, you kind of had a platform built, and then you pivoted on your own. Yeah. But you had an audience.
Yes.
Doing this doesn't mean you have to quit your job full time.
Income.
You could still start doing this in the evening, a couple hours here, a couple hours there, throughout the week, and build an audience, but still work, still have a place where you're getting your benefits for your insurance for your family, or you're getting, your main steady income while you build this up. And you might never end up going full time on your own, and that's could be your choice for whatever. But like, people need, it's hard to get out of your comfort bubble.
I agree. I think you just have to be independently. What's the word I'm looking for? You just have to want it bad enough. Like, you have to make it happen. It's not going to happen on your own. You have to push for it. But I am one of those people who, once I believe in something and I see it's going to, work for me, I go all in. Yeah. So, like you said, I don't know how far this is going to go, but I'm riding it until we'll see.
The other part I was going to say was, like, the other thing is when people are, it takes a leap of faith to go do something like that completely on your own. And you're just like, I'm going to ditch it. I'm going to go out and do that. And there are people out there that can just say, I'm going to wing it and we're going to make it work. And they do. And they're not worried about if they don't, because they're like, I'll find something. Right. If I got to work at Sheets for a couple months until I find another job, I will. And, it takes a lot of like guts and some gumption to be like, all right, we're going in, we're doing it. And not just for you, but I'm sure, like, talking to your husband, talking to your family, like, they got to be behind it too.
They are. And I'll tell you what's funny about that. In the beginning, learning to be a social content creator, I didn't have all of the resources yet. I didn't have tripods and ring lights and all of those things. So I would have them, hey, can you take my picture? Can you film this? They were over that real quick, right? So I had to hurry up.
Not again.
And totally be able to do it on my own. Yeah. So now I'm okay.
Well, unfortunately, a lot of the equipment now is like, you can start with a kit for not a lot of money.
Correct. Like, it's reasonable.
It's so cheap to get I mean, if you already have an iPhone, you have 99% of what you need.
Correct.
Some couple apps, and you can get a couple of tripods or a ring light for $150 or whatever on Amazon.
Yep.
Really, it's a starter kit for under a few $100s.
Yeah. But it was just funny in the beginning how they were so, and even so a lot of times
you have to bring them in the beginning, because that's like,
I had to. Yeah.
It's funny. It's part of the whole growth thing too.
Yeah. But it's funny too. I had a client I met yesterday, and she said, "Oh, I bet you your daughter loves what you do." And I'm like, "Not really. She's 16, and she's like, my mom is all over social media. She's like not embarrassed, but she's like, oh, not again.
Have they ever been like looking at their own things and then like, oh, there's mom popping up again?
Yeah, and her friends, they all say stuff, and she's always like, oh, mom. And that was one thing I wanted to mention too. I kind of got sidetracked was when I first started doing social, I was one of those people who I know when you're online and you start seeing someone all the time, sometimes it'd be like too much. You'd be like, okay, I've had enough. I mean, and you can pause them or mute them. So in the beginning, I was very careful with just doing 2 to 3 posts a week just to ease in. But as I grew, you learn that in order to become successful, you have to go strong. You have to be daily, once, sometimes twice a day.
Yeah.
And so I had to learn to like not be so worried about what everyone else thinks or how often they see me.
They can always control their
They can control that.
Right.
So that's just part of the job, you know? So that was another thing I learned along the way. Because I ran into a friend recently, like at TJ Maxx, and she's like, "Oh, I see you all over my feed," and I'm like, "I'm sorry, is that bad?" And she's like, "No, I love it," you know.
Yeah.
But it's just,
you probably have more people that don't mind it or they love it versus the people that are like, "Oh my gosh, I heard again, I gotta see this."
But I'm an over analyzer and overthinker, and I try to not be that way because in this industry, you know, it's just, hey, I'm putting myself out there. I'm going to do it. I can't worry what other people think. But it's hard, you know. I still do. But no.
That's just human nature.
The feedback has been great, though, so I appreciate it. It's like wired within our brains to think about what other people think about us. Yeah. So you have to kind of let that go.
Let it go. Yeah. That's what we kind of started the whole conversation.
Exactly.
You can't get, if you have comments, you can't get caught up in the comments. You kind of just do your thing. You know, if there's people, there's always gonna be like a hater.
Yeah.
Or someone that's
obviously
out there is negative.
Working for me. Like if it weren't working, I wouldn't continue doing that. I'm obviously getting paid now at this point.
You have people noticing you locally,
Locally.
Which is kind of cool, you know.
Yeah. And I love that.
Whether you want the fame or not, they're gonna find you.
I think everyone knows me. I like the limelight a little bit too, so that didn't hurt.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
so let's wrap up with kind of, without going into politics or anything, obviously, but let's kind of talk about what you see. You know, you have not a huge TikTok following. When you had said that before, you're like, well, I'm bigger over here.
Yes.
But like, first of all, let's talk about what apps you find within your audience provide the most value, and like not just for you, but for where you connect the most with people. And then part 2 is, how do you see that landscape changing when, you know, the dreaded TikTok ban comes into effect in a few days. So let's just start with like, where are your most valuable and most interactive audiences at?
This is a good question, actually. So when I first started in the industry, they trained us at my previous corporate job that best way to grow is to start with one platform and get strong and then move to the next one and then move over. So Instagram is by far the strongest platform for fashion content. So I start there, right? So that's where I started, grew, and I'm still growing very strong. And so with that, Instagram and Facebook are connected. So I share that, obviously.
You don't even have to hit one button.
It just goes, right? Facebook is, I feel like, fading away. That is an older generation. A lot of people don't really love Facebook. I don't see a lot of
it's like a necessary evil. Like you have to have it.
Yes.
But
I don't. Yeah. I feel like the generation for Facebook users don't. Yeah. It's not where I find it works best for me. But I share it there. I just don't have a lot of kickback there. So Instagram, Facebook is where I'm mainly seen. So TikTok, I had started, I don't know, I'm trying to think, maybe 6 months ago, because I was like, well, it's another platform. Let me start tiptoeing over there. And it's funny, on TikTok, you can grow following there quicker than on Instagram. Instagram's a slower grow. I don't know why the algorithm right now is kind of slow, but it's just slower. But on TikTok, I started growing really fast. And I don't have a huge following there, but it's growing. And so before I talk about the TikTok change thing coming, I think what the best thing is as an influencer or social media in any industry is that you can't rely on one source, because if something happens like what's happening,
if you're
TikTok,
only on TikTok,
you're in big
Sunday
trouble.
night,
you're out, right? Or we've had Instagram crash sometimes, like for a day. And if you have content scheduled,
people go to the other one.
Gone. You're not getting seen.
Well, and everyone's going to the other app.
Correct.
Whether it's YouTube Shorts or it's Facebook. Yes. But Facebook's down, Instagram's probably down, or vice versa.
Yes.
So you do have to. You can't put all your eggs in one basket.
That's exactly right. So that's where I was headed with that. Where I started with one, keep growing on the other platforms, as many as you can, just because you just don't know when something could happen. So with TikTok, it's funny. I actually just started getting collaborations with people on TikTok within the last 6 weeks. And it's funny because now this is going to become ahead. So I have all my content already gone.
Well, that was great. I built it up.
Yeah. Then we're going to have a little dip. So I think TikTok is a interesting subject because like we all know it's going to shut down here soon, and I don't have all my eggs in that basket.
Right.
I'm stronger on Instagram, and so I'm not concerned about it just because it's not a huge push for me right now, but I know a lot of people that it will be.
There's a lot of brands, not even in fashion. There's a lot of brands that went all in on TikTok the last few years, which will be interesting to see
what they do,
how they pivot. It'll also be interesting to see. We were talking about this yesterday here, just because that's, we have a social media wing of Lead Lamp where, like, what if TikTok gets chopped, it gets axed, and it doesn't come back at all? Like, just pretend it's gone.
It's gone.
Like, what app is either going to...
I think Instagram's going to pick back up.
Yeah, I was going to say, which one picks up the slack, or which one that we don't even know about right now pops up that they're like, hey, here's the new thing.
Did you hear about is it called the Red something?
Yeah.
I don't know much.
We looked at it.
Okay.
We're waiting on that one. We all kind of looked at it yesterday.
I didn't touch it, but I heard about that.
Yeah.
People were like, well, because even my daughter, she's 16, and she was like, oh, I immediately am jumping on that app because TikTok's her life. Like, that's her generation. So
but there you go. That's an audience that is in peril because they put everything in one, that's how they
for her, like,
communicate.
Facebook is, Karen's, like the old moms, me.
Yeah.
And Instagram, I just think is a nice medium there. So I think Instagram's going to be, I think, a big pushover for when this happens.
It'll be interesting to see where the swell of traffic goes.
Sure. But there might be something new coming in that I don't know.
Or Monday could come around, or Tuesday, and there's whatever happens, a new workaround for it, or new laws that are passed, and then it just comes back, or it's not, it was just a blip.
Yeah.
Or like I said, it could be the opposite, and it just goes away with the graveyard of old social media apps. We don't know.
We'll have to see. It'll be interesting. I know for sure.
But it will be cool to watch, at least from my point of view. Like, I'm a little more analytical. It will be cool to watch, like, where the herd goes, of like where the people all end up scattering to.
Yeah.
Because like personally, me, I don't spend a lot of time on Instagram or Facebook.
Okay.
I go to YouTube Shorts. Like, I'm all over Shorts.
Yes.
So I'll probably just go straight there.
That might be another.
But then I know, like, my wife, she'll be on Reels or on Instagram, between Facebook and Instagram. She'll be on there more than YouTube Shorts because she's like, I've never even watched a YouTube
I'm not as familiar with Shorts. On
so YouTube. It's the same thing. I mean, they all have their thing, but there'll be a division of like 4 apps that like absorb that.
Spreads the wealth. Yeah. So like I said to you, I started YouTube just because someone mentioned, like, this is a huge platform too. And I just, I will say, like, I do Reels and I do carousel posts, which are posts that are, more than one, and then it'll show on Instagram, which is nice, more than, like, if I'm on one day, the next day it'll show the second page, so I think, I find that I prefer doing carousels opposed to Reels, but Reels do get more views. It's more, it's seen more. So I think with YouTube Shorts and things, that's what people want to see. They want a short. Their attention span is, this big.
You got 20 seconds, and 30 seconds to get them.
That's it. Yeah, you have to have that, what they call the catch, there's a word I'm looking.
It's like a hook.
The hook. There you go. In that first 3 seconds, you have 3 seconds to grab them, and if you don't, you're out. So yeah, it's wild. It's wild. I've learned so much in social media over the year, the last 2 years.
Yeah, it's exciting to hear, that transformation you've gone through with it too. So
yeah,
that's awesome. Well, I appreciate you coming on. All the brands you talked about, we're going to make sure we have our links in the show description for you. So when it goes up, people can find the brands you're working with locally.
Yes.
And
thank you for having me. It was wonderful to be back here.
Yeah, it was great to get an update from you. So,
it's funny how things come around too.
I know, it's full circle. You don't know when either. It could be years from now. It could be a couple months. So it comes back around.
I think one final thing I would like to say, because I had lost a friend last week who was very close to me, and she was very supportive of what I do and very inspirational. And with that is where I was trying to say earlier, you just never know what is going to happen to you or when it happens. So I think you live every day to your fullest, and you do what makes you happy, and you go after what makes you feel good. And no matter what age, at what level you are, and like you said, taking risks, I think is important because, you just never know what could happen,
Yeah. And everyone's risk tolerance is different. So, a risk for me might just be like, oh, I'm going to try to do a new thing. I'm going to paint by numbers.
Play a new instrument. Whatever.
Learn a new whatever. In my house by myself, I want to pick up a acoustic guitar. Low risk. It's a low risk thing for a lot of people. It might be out a couple $100, but at least I'm learning and I'm growing.
Yeah.
But risk for someone like you or, other people could be, hey, I'm going to jump all in on this and I'm going to run this as far as I can.
Exactly. The sky's the limit. You never know. And I think
So-
social media and just one final thing with that is that it is a very lucrative area where you can make a lot of money. I mean, it's just a matter of who sees you and
everyone's version of monetizing it's different. So that's what's cool about it. There's not one way to monetize social media.
So we'll see. Sky's
Awesome.
the limit.
Well, thank you for coming in. Thanks for the update, and it was great to see you again.
Great to see you too, Brett. Thank you so much.